Welcome to Beats and Boots, the podcast where stories from music and subcultures around the world come together. Here, we want to explore the journey of skinheads and skin girls, road boys and road girls, punks, and everyone part of our subcultures. On each episode, we will dive deep into personal stories, how our guests discovered these scenes, faced challenges, found joy, unity, and identity through music. Join us on Beats and Boots, music and subculture stories. Welcome to Beats and Boots, music and subculture stories. Today's guest is a powerful musician from the punk and oi scene, originally from Pittsburgh. A musician who has played in numerous bands such as Short Leash, Chronic Abuse, No Time, and many others. And who has also been a dedicated supporter of the subculture community, organizing shows by continuing to support the scene. Let's welcome Alan Thomas.
Always be true. Always be true. Always be true. So hating you. A 5, 6, 7, 8. They say you're the cookie lad. They don't know it. They won't fit. Where you at? Did you do? Just a good never hitting you. I'm sorry. For it wine in the end. You found me. I want to eat. Eternally always be true. Always be true. Always be true. So hating you. Never give up on your dream. Like the one where once it played. Locked in a total fight. Right in the wall for the very side. I'm sorry. For it wine in the end. You found me. I want to eat. Eternally always be true. Always be true. Always be true. So hating you. Always be true. Always be true. Always be true. So hating you. Fuck off. In the front of you. Fuck you.
Alan Thomas. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I'm extremely excited to share your story.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's begin with the introduction to subculture. Let's go back in time and could you describe how you first discovered the subculture? Meaning when, where, how do you get involved? What drew you in?
Like a lot of people, I guess my age, we discovered punk through skate videos, and I grew up in a very small town. There were really, 600 people in the town I grew up. It was a small rural town in west central Pennsylvania, so there wasn't a whole lot going on. So we kind of got into, me and a couple of friends kind of got into skateboarding. Probably by happenstance, I'm not even sure how. And then, through that, just skate videos, we heard songs on skate videos and, you would rewind the video or, hey, what was that? Or, at the end there was the credits and we'd discover songs or bands that way. So really, yeah, that's how it started. Just skate videos or BMX videos, like anything related to like extreme sports, I guess.
And that's how you discovered the music, right?
Yeah. Like I grew up, my father was into music. My family was into music, but like more classic rock stuff. So I had a music background. Like when I was a kid, my parents took me to see like Cheap Trick and bands like that, or like Tom Petty. But punk was discovered through skateboarding videos mostly.
Very interesting. Now, could you paint a picture of what was the scene when you start, going to the shows eventually? How was when you first got into it? What, like the people, the shows, the atmosphere, how it felt like, and where this happened.
Yeah. So there wasn't a scene in like my rural setting at all. So like a few years after, maybe not even a few years, like pretty much after I discovered punk, we had a band. We started a band. We didn't even know how to play. Like me and a few friends. Like you play bass, you play guitar, whatever. You just pick and you figure it out. So I was in a band before I even had an instrument or knew how to play. But we were gonna do this thing. So there wasn't really a scene per se. But I grew up probably about a half an hour from Altoona or Johnstown. So I was kind of in between those areas, and they were like the big city, which now Johnstown is not a booming metropolis by any means, but so I knew there was stuff going on there. So like I started kind of traveling when I was able to get my driver's license. I was 16. I started traveling out. I had a Bronco that cost like $200. The back hatch wouldn't even close, and I would pile my friends in there, and we would drive to gigs in like Johnstown or Altoona. Sometimes had gigs, so that was pretty early on. We had to travel for shows, so it was like I had a junior license. I remember I'd get home at like midnight or something. My mom would be like up waiting for me, like, "Where the hell were you?" But yeah, no, it was awesome. It was a pretty eclectic scene. There was no like specific subgenre. It was just people who like I remember there were like street punk bands, and then there was like a folk punk band would play with the street punk band, and that was just like normal. We were kids, and we just everything was punk, like we didn't realize there were like this subgenre or this or this.
This
It was just
cultures.
it exactly. It was all punk, and we just knew that we liked it, and that's the start for me. So
At that point, you're not playing in bands. You're just, getting into the shows, getting into the scene. Uh,
I I think it was all simultaneously, like, because I realized, like, after listening to the music, not long after discovering the music, I was like, I'm gonna start a band. I think maybe we had the idea of the band, and as we were traveling to do the gigs, but the band hadn't really picked up yet. But maybe my timeline might be off because I think I was a little bit, even before I discovered that there were things happening in Johnstown, we had the band, because I was pretty young at that time. I was like 14 or 15 when we had the band. So my timeline might be off there, but somewhere in there, yeah, we had the band and we were traveling for the gigs. But
and the name of the first band, what it was?
yeah, it's not bad for a first band. It was called the Social Rats, and we had like a demo tape.
Really?
I
Do you
wish
have
I
that?
No, I wish I could find it. We recorded it on like you know the little tape recorders. We just recorded in my bedroom, and yeah, it was honestly the name was cool, but I don't suspect the band would hold up.
So eventually, you have many bands. So little by little, I imagine you grow up in the scene and start discovering other, maybe traveling and discovering other places, and grow to other bands that started like playing more. Can you tell us more about how that progressed?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I was traveling for gigs at first, and then I realized, hey, this is something that I can do, and this is not necessarily happening where I live, but I want this to happen where I live. So I found like in a nearby town, there was a pool hall that had like space, so I just bugged the owner of the pool hall, and I was like, "Hey, we got these bands, and we want to like bring these bands." And so I remember I was in high school at the time, and I was handing out flyers like, "Come check out our bands and stuff." And then I discovered there was a website called Book Your Own Fucking Life, and I was on there, and it was just a database for like bands and promoters and stuff, and you could connect. And I put myself up there as a promoter. Now, like I had no business putting myself. I was 15 years old. Like I lived with my parents, but I put out there that I was a promoter in this area that I lived in, and I started getting emails, and I actually booked. Kind of maybe one of the coolest things was I booked the Belltones in like my hometown, well, the town over at this pool hall when I was like 15 years old. So like I booked. I had no business bringing these bands, but I just saw this happening in Johnstown and Altoona, and I was like, I can do this. So me and a few friends started just organizing gigs, and we booked like 25 to Life. Well, that was more my friend, but he booked 25 to Life at this pool hall, and just like all these bands that like we had no business booking. Like we were young kids, and we were bringing in these bands, and they needed money and all these things, and we're just like, oh, we got enough money for, but it kind of worked out. So
You started playing in the bands, but also at the same time, by a chance, organizing shows. So since
yeah,
organizing
yeah.
community in the scene and putting together shows in a place that needed that space.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it was like, so at first it was like there were a ton of fights because it was just like people from my high school, they would come to these gigs, and then there was like the pool hall crowd that were like, it's just this smoky pool hall, and the guys that came to play pool were like, what the hell are all these kids doing here? So I just remember there were always fights, and there was like uh, a very memorable brawl that I remember happened because like the pole hall people were like not cool with us being there, and there's this loud music and obnoxious music, and they're like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, that was it. I mean, I got just started doing it because I was like, hey, like this isn't happening where I'm at, but like we can figure it out. So that was it.
It happened when I'm from Puerto Rico, and yes, sometimes the shows were in places that were not related to the scene. It was just we had the chance to make the
Yeah.
show, and locals will go and look at us like, what is this?
Yeah, you make the best with what you got.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you remember what was the first show that you truly felt like this is the subculture that I feel that I belong?
I mean, really, when I moved to Pittsburgh, I think is maybe when I started to feel like maybe I was part of something. Whereas, like, when I was booking shows in my hometown, there wasn't like a scene. Like, they were like my high school, like kids from my high school were coming out to shows, but there wasn't like a scene per se. Like there were people traveling from Johnstown and Altoona to see some of the bands we were booking that were part of the scene. But when I moved to Pittsburgh is when I really started to feel like I was part of something. And I've been here, I mean, over 20 years now. Like I've been here, I don't even know how long. I think I got here in 2005, so I've been here a while. Just there was a Annihilation Time, and there was a local band, Caustic Christ, that I saw a lot. They were like a hardcore punk band, and I still am friends with those guys. But a lot of those shows, they played like 3 times a week, and I was always there. But there was a show that Annihilation Time played that was like a big show in Pittsburgh, like a really big deal. And Jimmy, the singer, he's a friend of mine. He's a fucking psychopath. But I just remember him hitting me. There was like a metal mic stand, and it was so crazy. Like people were falling on the stage, and he was. I didn't know him at the time, but he was just hitting me with the mic stand to like fend me off from falling on the stage. And I guess that's not, maybe that it's funny that that's the show where I feel like I'm part of something, and I have a guy trying to fucking shove me off stage. But no, I really like that was a really big, and Caustic Christ were one of those bands that like really heavily influenced us when we were younger because they were like a generation or two older than us, and they were just so crushingly powerful. I remember they covered Just to Get Away by Poison Idea at that specific show, and it was just crazy. I was just any kind of like any show that was happening, I just tried to be there. I didn't even have a car. I had a bicycle, so I was just biking to these gigs in Pittsburgh. Like I lived for 10 years in Pittsburgh without a car, And yeah, just any kind of show or bands that were coming through, I tried to be there. And just, just through osmosis, I just met a lot of people and became friends with a lot of people just by being around. But yeah, there was back then there was a really strong like hardcore punk scene in Pittsburgh. So that's kind of I came up in that scene.
Eventually, I imagine that you started, listening to other genres of music, punk and rock, oi.
Mhm.
Um, when you started identifying with a subculture, did that happen, or you still feel that you are like part of like the whole scene?
Yeah, I think I've always just really been. I don't know what the word is for it, but I would always tell people I like more bands than I don't like, and a lot of people think that's crazy. But I've always been really just into everything, like from '77 punk to UK '82 to US hardcore to oi music. Like when I was younger, I was just such a sponge that I just absorbed everything. And none of that, I didn't know what those genres were. Like I had an oppressed CD that I downloaded, and there were some Slade covers on the CD. I didn't even know that was Slade. To me, that was just like it was the oppressed. Goodbye to Jane was the oppressed. I didn't even realize I was like such
You
a
know,
young kid.
something similar happened to me in Puerto Rico. We used to get like, cassettes, and then we
Yeah, yeah,
mix that we just start sharing and sharing and sharing. And eventually nobody knew the names of the bands or the songs. It was just copies and copies of good music. And
yeah,
eventually, with the years, I started discovering that I was listening to awesome music, great bands, but I didn't know the name.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it happened to me too. So and eventually we start writing the names.
Yes, yeah. You need the track list.
Oh, that song is from that band. Wow,
Yeah,
I love the song, but
sure.
it was the band. It was how it was. At my time, it was cassettes. Eventually,
Yes.
and then well, the digital world.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, all of that stuff, like, even now, I still feel um, like there's nothing, like, pretty much nothing's off the table. I like, I just like music. I mean, punk obviously has resonated with me. The energy and the just the aggression has always been part of why I love that music and the ethos and all that. But I love music, so I'm always looking for the next thing.
Absolutely. So you have a lot of bands, and the most active ones right now are Chronic Abuse, Short Leash, and No Time.
Hmm.
Right? Um, how do you balance your personal life with all the gigs that you play, and keep active in the scene and doing the shows? Like, how that works?
Well, right now is like the first time that I've like haven't been in like five or six bands at a time. Like honestly, so like I'm doing
Used to.
yeah, as far as bands go, that I'm doing the least amount of bands that I've done in a long time. Through my 20s, I was in like five or six bands at a time. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's tough at times, just trying to manage everything or I don't know, organizing gigs specifically is difficult. Just you want to do a good job, and I know what it's like. Just being a band on tour. There's a difference between just a mediocre gig and a great gig. So I really strive when I organize gigs to make it the great gig. So I put it a lot of weight on my shoulders to make sure that I'm doing all the proper things to make sure that bands get the respect or just get what they need. And a lot of this stems from going to Europe, and you go to Europe and you have bands, or you'd have people that take care of you. Like, here's the keys to our flat. You can sleep in our flat. I'm going to sleep somewhere else. Or here's a full spread of food. You know what I mean? Like those sorts of things I learned that these are kind of the standards in Europe. And for me, I was like, why don't we do that here? Like, so, we try to cook for the bands.
That part of building community and supporting each other is very strong in Europe, and that's something that you want to mimic here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The gig is part of the experience, but like, and we're talking about like, especially right now, it's so expensive to be on the road, So even just like having a meal for the band helps, you know what I mean? Or a place to stay. Like we let bands stay here a lot of the times. Those sorts of things go a long way. So that's the hardest part for me. Like playing and, writing and all that stuff kind of comes naturally, but like, wanting to do a very good job with organizing gigs because I think that maybe you want to make it the best you possibly can. So I personally take that to heart, So I really try to put that into the gigs that I book. So that's for me. That's the hardest part.
Let's talk about now the joy in what you do. So what do you enjoy the most? Playing bands or organizing the shows?
Definitely playing. I mean, like I said, organizing gigs is very stressful. I think, but yeah, playing is it's great. I couldn't exist without that outlet. You know what I mean? Or to just have that part of my life. I don't think I couldn't imagine what I would do if I didn't have that outlet.
And that goes to one topic that I really would love to talk about, how all these experiences have shaped your identity. How has being part of these subcultures and all these experiences that you have had have influenced your identity, meaning who you are? Have you ever faced a moment of self-reflection where you realize how deeply the subculture have shaped who you are?
Yeah, yeah. So at first, I knew I didn't belong. Like, at first when you're a kid in high school, I didn't really care about sports. I didn't care about school. I was a bad student. We would skip, I skipped as much school as you could possibly skip. I wasn't interested. The gigs was the thing I was excited. I remember my parents would give me lunch money to buy lunch at school, and I would save the money and I would go buy CDs. This was a time when CDs were popular, and I would go and buy CDs, and I just find like a punk section and buy random. I didn't even know what it was. So at first, I always knew I didn't belong. But really, the big moments for me, there's a lot of them. We went to Japan a few years ago, and that was maybe like just such a just a crazy realization for me that you know this is like my life. You know what I mean? Like this is not like just some it's a hobby or it's a phase or whatever. And I never thought that this is always that has always irked me, when I've heard that, oh, so like being in a band is your hobby. It's like, no, this is like a way of life. This is like my entire world. Everything I know, everyone I know, like every person who is important to me in my life, I found through this, you know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, that was a huge one. Like realizing some stupid fucking songs that I wrote in my bedroom or something in my old apartment, all of that led up to like us being in Japan, and so that was a huge one. And like the Cockspar show in New York, like I remember just thinking we had 10 minutes before we were about to go play, and we're just in the back waiting to go out. I'm just like, this is like absolutely fucking crazy. Like to be playing this gig and with a band that's just like for all of us, like every person in No Time, that band has been so influential to us, and to just be part of that show is just such a massive honor. But yeah, just like so moments like that when you realize like, fuck, like the labor of love is it's well worth it. Like we're not rich, we all work jobs. I have to wake up tomorrow and fucking go to work. But at the same time, those moments like that make everything that I have done up to this point, make it so worth it. All the sacrifices, I didn't go to college. You know, I basically have had the same job for 16 years because it's the only job that lets me tour. You know what I mean? And it's not a job that pays very well. I just personally need the freedom.
Yes, you find yourself who you are in the subculture, in the scene, and then what we continue living. But this is the place that we found our community, and the place that we feel we can be who we are, and we feel
Yeah.
absolutely.
And like I guess maybe one of the most important things for me about all of this is um this subculture gave me a fucking voice. Like this subculture, I say this often, and I don't know if maybe this is cheesy, but like I call it like the punk empowerment. Like this scene has empowered me on such a crazy level that there's nothing in this world that like I don't think like if there was something that I wanted to do in this world, I would find a way. I would tooth and nail. I would fucking claw my way to make sure that you know what I mean. Like it creates like resilience, and it gives you power. And like I said, it gave me my voice. Like if I had not gotten into punk music, who knows what I would be doing? But this kind of just helps me understand the world, and it allows me to like speak on how how I feel.
Going to the same line of thinking, how does it feel to share this with others? Like find others that you can identify with.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I mean it's everything. I mean all of my friends, uh, my wife. Most importantly, I met my wife at a hardcore show in New York City. We played a show with Sheer Terror on Valentine's Day, and that's how I met my wife. Like uh, my closest friends, like my entire world is this thing. I know I've already said that, but uh, and that's, I mean, it's everything. Like I don't. I'm sitting in a room full of records right now. It's a disaster, but this kind of stuff. This is I don't know. I can't imagine what I would be doing other than this. But yeah, I mean, all of my closest friends, and I mean anybody I would consider family. Uh, yeah, I've met through this scene. So
Let's talk a little bit about your journey as an adult, right? We started very young, but then eventually now we are adults and we're still here.
yeah,
um, how's your perspective on the scene change as you go older?
yeah. I think naturally, just life. Your perspective is going to change, or maybe not your perspective, but it hurts now. Like to play a gig, like whereas when I was younger, I could do that shit all day, but now it's like, oh man, I feel like shit. But aside from like the physical, yeah, the mental, I don't know if my opinion has changed per se. I think I think I realized that I need this more than ever. Like, and I realized like how much of a just a foundation that this has been for me in my life. And like take every little, because we're not touring as much as we used to, or we're not, doing this and that, and and I was on the road for 6 months out of the year in 2010. You know what I mean? We're not doing that anymore. So I think as I get older, I realize like you just take every little bit that you can and do the most that you can, but just mainly just put put everything into it. Just do everything we did that we were when we were kids. Give 110%. You're not gonna be able to do everything, or you're not gonna be able to do as much. People have kids and are married and have, as we get older, those are realities. But just just keep doing as much as you can. And uh, show younger people who are getting involved. I have a nephew who's 11. He's kind of getting into punk, kind of pass the torch and,
And support and welcome them.
yeah. Yeah. And don't be a fucking like,
Yeah.
Too cool for school or something, like.
Same with the new bands and the new people. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome them and, help them and guide them and, yeah.
Now, in your global travels, I know you have played in many places. Have you observed differences or similarities in how the subcultures manifest across the countries?
Yeah. There's a lot, but I think the one thing that I've learned most from traveling is not that there's differences. There absolutely are differences, in the scenes and everything. But the one thing that I find so fascinating about traveling is that at the end of the day, we're all the same. And it's, like we all want the same things. And you realize this the more you travel, you realize, there's absolutely differences. There's cultural differences. There's all these things. But at the end of the day, we're human. We're all after the same shit. Yeah, I don't know. And punk, the world is so small, That's another thing that, like, the more you travel, you realize, like, how small punk is. And, yeah, it's just, like, people everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the world is not, it's a kind of amazing experience, You could go anywhere and probably find a punk scene, and you'll probably find somebody there who knows somebody, or knows a band that you know what I mean?
Yeah, and now with the internet, is truly has pros and cons, but truly it help us connect with people that are similar to us around the world. And as you said, we found more similarities than difference, and we connect with people in ways that maybe in our own communities we don't connect the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it like this is happening right now. I'm speaking to you, and
now to close this amazing conversation, what changes or improvements would you like to see in the subculture and the shows and the scene moving forward?
oh, changes. I would say just be welcoming and just like build something, like find out what you like and find out what inspires you. The thing that is just amazing about punk music is if you want to do something, you just fucking do it. And that is the beauty. So I would say just like foster an environment that inspires people.
Or something that can get in more improvement. Like if people see this as a community, as something that we can build on and support each other.
Yes.
And maybe the things that they do will go, in that direction.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just more, more unity and encouraging, and not like you see a young kid at a show standing by himself and fucking go talk to him.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely, so important. Yeah.
like we played a show in Marseille, and there was a guy, and he was just sitting by himself, and I was with Greg from First Attack, Greg who was in Bishop's Green, and this guy was a huge influence to me, his bands and everything. And he goes, "Hey, there's a dude just hanging out by himself. I'm gonna go fucking talk to him." Greg doesn't speak French, you know, he knew there was going to be a barrier, but he still went and he spoke to him. And that was super fucking cool to me. And those are the kind of things that I think, like, if I was 16 or 15 getting into punk, those would be like big things.
We had been there, and we stood because we found that connection and that community, and that's so important. Absolutely agree.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you know, but all at the same time, you know, keep it safe from people who mean harm, or, you know, people who want to take advantage of your scene, or, you know, because you want to be vigilant about those things as well.
Absolutely, and be verbal about it. Like what is not okay is not okay, and there's no ambiguous position on it. Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much, truly, for this conversation, sharing a little bit about your journey and how you connected with this powerful and amazing community that have done so much for us. So thank you. And thank you for all that you do. Truly, you do a lot for the scene. You keep it alive with your bands, but also with the difficult task that I know is constructing shows and putting them together. That the best part, I imagine, is the end when it's done and it looks amazing.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so take care of your scene, you know?
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Adam, truly, for joining us today. It was an honor to have you in the show and to share this conversation with you, truly.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember to check our Spotify playlist featuring Adam's music recommendation. This was Naya Maji. Until the next episode of Beats and Boots, Music and Subculture Stories.
Cheers.